Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the English Daily Book Summary YouTube channel. In order to not stop learning, listen to an English book summary every day for free.
Ryan Leake. How to work with complicated people. Strategies for effective collaboration with nearly anyone. Work would be a lot easier if it weren't for all the people, right? Deadlines, meetings, projects, you can plan for those. But complicated coworkers, that's a whole different story. No matter how great your job is, complicated people can make it feel like a daily battle. And the truth is, you can't opt out. Wherever there are humans, there will be complexity, misunderstanding, and a few relationships that test your patience. The real magic doesn't come from trying to change other people. It comes from changing how you relate to them. It's about protecting your peace, adjusting your expectations, and building better ways to connect without losing your mind. Because while you can't control who shows up in your workplace, you can absolutely control how you show up in theirs. In this blink, you'll discover why accepting your own complexity is the first step toward working with others, and how investing in challenging relationships can actually make you love your job more. You'll discover why accepting your own complexity is the first step toward working with others, and how investing in challenging relationships can actually make you love your job more. You'll also learn some smart ways to sharpen your communication skills, how to protect your emotional energy by managing expectations, and what to do when collaboration just isn't possible, no matter how hard you try. A hard truth. Think about the last time someone really got under your skin at work. Chances are, a specific face or name immediately pops into your mind. Maybe it's the colleague whose negativity drags everyone down, the manager who refuses to see another point of view, or the executive whose cryptic communication leaves you guessing. Nearly half of Americans say they deal with complicated people daily, and most face them at least weekly. But here's the twist. It's not just them. It's all of us. We're quick to label others as complicated when they seem stubborn, manipulative, or lazy. It's much harder to admit that we show some of these same traits ourselves. The truth is, we're all somebody's complicated person. There's likely someone in your workplace who finds you just as baffling or frustrating as you find them. Owning this reality isn't just humbling, it's empowering. When we acknowledge our own quirks and blind spots, we build empathy, patience, and a greater capacity to collaborate. Instead of demanding others change to suit us, we create room for shared growth. Of course, this isn't about tolerating bad behavior, something we'll explore later, but about adjusting the lens through which we view each other. At the heart of this shift is the story we tell ourselves. We're usually the hero of our own story, while others are cast as bit players or villains. But they're doing the exact same thing with us. Recognizing that our internal narrative might be even a little off opens the door to a more generous interpretation. Suddenly, flaws can start to look like different strengths. What if, instead of seeing a difficult coworker, you saw someone who's simply different? Maybe their stubbornness is just fierce passion. Maybe their criticism, though uncomfortable, holds a valuable insight. Changing your story won't erase complicated people's complications, but it will make working with them much more manageable and maybe even rewarding. We're all complex, messy humans navigating this complex, messy world together. When we embrace that truth and offer each other a little more grace, collaboration not only feels more possible, but a whole lot more human too. The return on investment. When you think about the toughest parts of your job, chances are it's not the tasks or the deadlines. It's the people. You can have the best plans, the clearest goals, and the strongest work ethic, but strained relationships can make everything feel heavier than it needs to be. The upside, your day-to-day experience can be totally transformed by proactively pursuing ways to collaborate with these complicated colleagues. Admittedly, this does take some work, and you may be wondering whether it's worth it. After all, you've already honed CIA-level stealth tactics to avoid them wherever possible. While you can absolutely continue to evade difficult individuals like a world-class spy, you may want to consider the benefits that come from actually collaborating with these complex coworkers. Firstly, doing so directly impacts your happiness. That person who constantly drains your energy, even a 1% improvement in that relationship can make your work life feel lighter and more manageable. Meetings stop feeling like emotional landmines and start feeling like just plain old meetings. Secondly, by engaging with tricky individuals, you're helping shape their broader culture. Typically, work environments don't change through grand gestures. They shift gradually, one conversation and one moment at a time. Every positive interaction helps create a workplace that's a little more supportive and a little less stressful. And here's the unexpected bonus. You actually need complicated people. Their different approaches, skills, and perspectives can complement your own in ways that spark creativity and drive better results. It's often the tension between differences that fuels real innovation. The way forward starts with your mindset. You can't control how others behave, but you can control how you see and respond to them. To do so, you'll need to embrace 4 key habits. Self-awareness means asking yourself what it's like to be on the receiving end of you. Ownership challenges you to look for your part in every dynamic. Curiosity invites you to wonder what it's like to walk in someone else's shoes. And connection reminds you to focus on what common ground you can build on. These habits, practiced consistently, can completely change your workplace experience. Sure, proactively pursuing collaboration with complicated colleagues will get messy sometimes, but the return on investment, better relationships, stronger teamwork, and a workplace you actually enjoy will make every effort worthwhile. Communicating with complicated. Communication sounds simple. You say something, people understand it. Easy, right? But the reality is a lot more complicated. We're imperfect beings trying to connect with other imperfect beings, and misunderstandings aren't the exception. They're part of the deal. To truly connect with complicated colleagues, it helps to step back and rethink your communication style. The first thing you'll want to do is think about the direction of your communication. Speaking upward to leadership is very different from talking across to peers or downward to your team. When speaking upward, it's crucial to think C-suite. You need to frame your message in terms of the broader company-wide interests and pain points. When communicating across to colleagues, always start with respect and acknowledge the value they bring. And when speaking downward, remember this: anyone in a leadership position is a chief repeating officer. Great chief repeating officers know how to deliver the same message in different ways, speaking to each person as an individual. Now, you'll want to consider the medium you're using. Video calls, emails, and in-person conversations all require a slightly different approach. On video calls, knowing when to speak up and when to listen makes a huge difference and takes practice. When writing emails, be mindful of your tone. Written words can often come across as harsher than intended. A little positivity or levity can go a long way. And if you're on the receiving end of a confusing message, remember to employ a generous internal narrative about the sender and seek clarity if needed. In-person conversations offer a real advantage, the chance to build rapport through small talk. Having a few conversation starters handy, asking friendly, open-ended questions, and sharing a bit of your own story can create stronger connections than you might expect. Still, you can master all the above and continue to encounter bumps in the road. Unfortunately, conflict is inevitable, but it doesn't have to ruin relationships. If you can address issues fast, fairly, and factually, you'll find yourself fighting forward, growing from the experience, and likely walking away with more respect from both sides than before. And that's a pretty remarkable outcome at the best of times, let alone when working with a particularly complicated person. Controlling the controllables. There are many reasons you might label someone as complicated. Maybe it's their communication style, attitude, or just that they move through the world differently than you would. But often, the real frustration boils down to the gap between who they are and who you expect them to be. Here's a powerful mental unlock. Stop being surprised. Expect people to be complex. Walk into conversations, meetings, and email threads knowing things might get messy. Don't assume everyone will agree with you, see things your way, or communicate with perfect tact. Letting go of these hidden expectations will protect your energy and give you back a considerable sense of control. So, give your assumptions a reality check. Take stock of what you're hoping for from the complicated people in your life, and notice how often these hopes leave you feeling frustrated. The more you accept people for who they are, the less power they have to throw you off course. As we've discussed, workplace friction is still going to happen. Disappointments, slights, and misunderstandings come with the territory. What matters is what you do with that pain. You can bury it, resent it, or numb yourself. Or you can face it, process it, and move forward in a productive way. This is where forgiveness becomes a game changer. To be clear, forgiveness isn't about letting people off the hook, it's about freeing yourself. Think of it like giving yourself an internal spring clean. Holding on to grudges takes up space you could otherwise use for work you actually care about. Making these choices ahead of time can make all the difference. Show up as the kind of colleague you wish you had. Let the small stuff go, because most of it really is small. And be ready to forgive people before they even disappoint you. That way, when the inevitable happens, you're not caught off guard. Remember, complicated people are part of this complicated life. But they don't get to control your story unless you let them. Choosing freedom, resilience, and a little extra generosity will keep you moving onward and upward. When all else fails. Sometimes, no matter how many books you read or tactics you try, collaboration just isn't going to happen. Some people simply aren't willing or able to meet you halfway. And that's not a reflection of your effort or attitude. It's on them, not you. The good news? Truly impossible collaborators are rare. Most people, given time and space, can grow and change. But every workplace has a few who may never quite get there. When quitting isn't an option, setting boundaries becomes your best plan of attack. Boundaries are the lines you draw to protect your time, energy, and well-being. They're the ground rules that define what you're willing to accept and what you're not. And while setting boundaries can feel tricky, especially with complicated personalities, they're absolutely essential for staying safe, sane, and productive. Here's the thing. Boundaries aren't about controlling other people. They're about taking responsibility for yourself. Good boundaries help you stay focused and connected to your work without getting overwhelmed or drained in the process. If you're new to setting boundaries, start small. Find a few quick wins that boost your confidence, such as not responding to work-related emails or texts in the evening. Practice saying no, firmly but respectfully, when you need to. And remember, a boundary isn't a boundary until you've clearly communicated it. People can't honor limits they don't know exist. When you do speak up, keep it clean and classy. Clear, respectful communication gives your boundaries the best chance of sticking. And for those worst-case scenarios, don't underestimate the value of documentation. If problems continue and you need to escalate with your manager or HR team, having a written record can be a powerful tool for protecting yourself. Setting boundaries won't fix truly complicated people or situations overnight, but it will restore a sense of autonomy, build your resilience, and help you recognize when it's time to keep working, or perhaps when it really is time to walk away. In this link to How to Work with Complicated People by Ryan Leake, you've learned that work can get complicated simply because people are complicated. You're surrounded by leaders making tough calls, teammates carrying invisible loads, and a world that rarely hands out easy answers. And yes, you're complicated too. But here's the good news. Complexity doesn't have to be a barrier. It can be a bridge. When you bring humility, curiosity, and resilience into your interactions, you create the kind of change that can ripple out far beyond you. So, the next time you walk your complicated self into a complicated workplace, show up with hope. You're not powerless. Every moment of generosity and understanding moves things forward, one person at a time, one day at a time, you can make a difference. And it starts exactly where you are. Okay, that's it for this Blink. We hope you enjoyed it. If you can, please take the time to leave us a rating. We always appreciate your feedback. See you in the next Blink.